Hey everyone, my name's Judith Dutil. I'm from the Online Learning Toolkit team, and I'm also adjunct faculty. And all day long, I have felt like my shadow is chasing me. I've been thinking about when am I going to carve out time to start to plan to pivot my land-based course to online or remote instruction. And I know that that is something that many of us are dealing with right now. And I thought that I would use this as an opportunity to kind of journal my process and share with you what types of things that I'm going to think about and moves that I'm going to make to pivot my course online. So let's take a look. So here's a little bit about my background. I've been teaching in higher ed since 2005, and I've been teaching blended and online courses with a learning management system since 2006. I currently work as adjunct faculty in communication, which is my academic discipline. I also work as an instructional designer and technologist, and I have a background in faculty development. I want to be clear that I have a lot of experience with online learning, and if I were being asked to design an online course for students who registered for an online course, I really wouldn't worry about it. But here's the thing. This semester, I'm teaching my very first communication lecture lab for first-year students. I have 101 students, 101 first-year students enrolled in this class. Also, I want to be clear that what I'm about to show you is not the design process I would follow for building a fabulous and engaging online course that I would want to show off to all my colleagues. I'm creating an online survival plan for my class. That is all. As such, I'm focused on delivering my learning outcomes online via the path of least resistance. And I think that's an okay thing to do right now. First, I'm going to begin with analysis. My process actually started yesterday when I talked to my students about the possibility that we'll be moving online and letting them know that I'm really not worried about that, but I am worried about them. I asked them to share any challenges they think they may face in doing this, and responses included not having Wi-Fi at home, not having a computer at home. There were a few students who shared personal challenges with me, including one student who shared with me that they weren't sure where they were going to go if they were asked to leave campus. And I also had a student who shared with me their concerns about a scheduled military training being a disruption to their Wi-Fi access. I record all the challenges that the students shared with me. I also brainstorm what I see as my own challenges. So we're in the middle of a major presentation assignment, and less than half of my students in the class have presented their assignment at this point. So we started last week. We got through, at this point, less than half, and we had the rest of this week designated for the rest of the assignments. And then the week after spring break, anybody who missed their assignment due to illness or whatever, they were going to present during that time. I also don't have a textbook for this class, and so I know students will be relying on me 100% for their resources. And I know that I'm also slightly behind with my schedule, and I was preparing for a schedule adjustment anyway. I've been using the learning management system as a support in this class, which for me is Brightspace D2L. And I use it to communicate and share resources and grades with students all semester. But so far, only about 70% of the class has accessed anything in the learning management system. So I know that there are some students who haven't even looked at this space. So the final part of my analysis is dusting off my syllabus and looking specifically at the course schedule. I'm going to theorize that I'll be able to finish out the week in the land-based classroom. I'm starting to doubt that that'll be true by the moment because I keep getting notifications about school closures, but I can't let that stress or panic get to me right now. I'm not in control of much, but I am in control of my plan and how I choose to react to the situation. So I'm choosing to begin my planning with next week, which is technically spring break, so the week after break. And let's assume that by that point, my school has made the decision to move to remote instruction. Notice I'm not worrying about tech in this phase of the plan at all. Listen, worry about technology later. Right now, just focus on creating your plan. How are you going to deliver on your learning outcomes? I'm going to create a table by weeks. This is my first design decision. I believe it will be easiest on everyone if we run the rest of the course through asynchronous week-long modules. That means that I'm going to move from a land-based course that was highly focused on instructional hours and meeting 3 times per week to moving to an asynchronous week-long module where students can work on their own leisure time during that week. In this case, we're looking at modules as a unit of time, but later I'm going to discuss that module is actually a component of the course. I could do this course completely differently. I have 2 major assignments left for the semester, and I could really make this an objective-based or competency-based module situation where I really only have 2 modules kind of fashioned around those 2 major assignments. But here's why I'm choosing not to do that. I'm too afraid I'll lose students if we don't have at least weekly check-in points. I want to see my students and check in with them at least once per week. So that way, if anybody starts to slip off, I'm going to notice right away. So I think this is the best way forward for me. To wrap up my analysis, I'm creating a table with the remaining weeks of the semester. I identify a Monday at midnight due date for my modules. I then identify the major assignments and exercises left for the semester, and I place them into the modules based on when I want to receive those assignments from students. Now I'll look at the skills and practice that we need to do to be able to achieve competency on the assignments and exercises that remain, and I'll add them to the module blocks. Moving on to design, I start to inventory what I need to make this plan work. I create a column for communication, a column for outcome and assessment, a column for content, a column for tool and platform, and a column for assessments, and I'll make a column also for instruction and support. Here's how I'm going to use this table. Each week I'm going to identify the desired outcome and assessment that students will have to demonstrate that the outcome is being achieved. I'll then populate associated links and information into the other columns. For example, I know that this week I need to share information about Monroe's motivated sequence. Luckily, I've been teaching a course similar to this one online for a while, so I do have some digital content that I can pull from. You'll have to make the decision if you need to create original content or curate content. Usually I really emphasize creating original content with faculty because I do think that it adds to the student's learning experience, and it builds that connection between the faculty and the student because you're really directly sharing your expertise with them. However, we don't really have time for that right now. So if you need to curate content, that's okay. Just make sure that you choose a quality curated source. So I can choose from a quality video that I've curated, or I can choose from a video that I created myself. I have put the links to each video into the table, and when I go to build out my modules, I'll decide which ones I'm plugging in. If you're curating, again, please make sure that it's high quality information. I do have a curation checklist somewhere. I'll just have to find it, and if I do, I'll share it with you. Just to be clear what each column is for, outcome and assessment is about the student's skill development and mastery. The content is what information I'll share with students. This can be readings, instructional videos, or interactive learning objects, which frankly I don't have time to create right now. I may also include some learning activities such as discussion. Maybe I'll use Flipgrid to create a discussion exercise that's video-based. I know that some of these assessments are going to require additional support because I have students who admittedly are very unfamiliar with the tools that I'm using. They haven't used the learning management system yet. And maybe if I chose to use a tool like Flipgrid, we haven't used that at all in class. So that would be new for probably almost everyone. So I may actually choose to hold some synchronous Zoom sessions to help support students through the most challenging new tech tool experiences that we'll be sharing. So maybe at the beginning of our transition to online, I'll have some synchronous Zoom sessions where I'm going to explain to you how this is all working. I'm going to show you how we're going to use the learning management system to finish out the semester. If I introduce a new tool like Flipgrid, when that comes up, I'll do another Zoom session. Here, I'm going to show you how to use this Flipgrid tool. When you record your speech assignments, you're going to use another tool in the LMS we haven't used yet. I'm going to show you how to do that too. I'm going to kind of scaffold those support sessions into the course based on need and based on student demand and reaction. I also want to note that the synchronous Zoom sessions will not be compulsory for students. You can attend if you need them. I will be there kind of like I would hold office hours. I'll be there to help walk you through this. But guess what? Even if nobody shows up, I'm still going to do it and record it and share it with you later. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because everything is going to change if we go remote. We can't expect that people are going to hold that physical class time space for their 50 minutes of public speaking class. So I imagine that students will be changing their schedules and adjusting, and I need to adjust accordingly. So that's why I want to make sure that students still have access to the Zoom session, even if they couldn't attend live. I also will include my communication plan here, which includes weekly announcements and emails, as well as a number students can use to text me. I use Google Voice for this, which allows you to manage text from a free app on your phone without sharing your mobile number, so that's nice. Been using that for a long time. I haven't had any issues with it, so I'll keep using that with my students. Okay, moving on. Next, I'm going to build placeholders for my modules and module content in the learning management system, which is, again, Brightspace. I also have access to other tools through Brightspace, and I'm going to look to those tools first before I would bring in any technology. So what is a module? Essentially, a module is a fancy online learning word for a container or a folder. Everything your students need to be successful should be in the module. Now we're really starting to shift what we're doing toward tech solutions. So I'm thinking about what's in my chart that I created, that module chart, and what tools do I need to employ to make that happen in the learning management system. When I set up modules, I like to template out the space. So the first thing I do is set up, again, placeholders in my learning modules and set up templates. Each module will include a checklist as well as my instruction, which provides context for whatever it is that we're doing. So essentially, it'll be the tech or video version of whatever I say in class before I begin reviewing material. So when I first start class and I say, hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today we're gonna talk about X, Y, and Z, and here's why we're going to talk about that. That's the context that I'm adding. If I say, hey, pull out a piece of paper and write down 3 things that you learned today. That's my instruction. That's how I'm helping students connect with the learning activity or the content and skills that we're trying to learn and the skills we're building. So that is something that I don't want to be missing from this experience because it's going to help students connect the dots of what they're going to do. In my modules, I'm a big stickler for sequence of instruction. So I think this makes it easier for students to navigate the space. So I'm going to lay out everything in the exact order that I want them to go through, and I'll just tell them that. I'll also demonstrate it to them whenever we have a Zoom support session, or I'll make a brief video to help them learn how to navigate this space. Regarding the homepage where students land when they first log into my course, I'll continue to use the announcements and contact area that I already have available. The students who have been using this space are already familiar with my layout and how I use it. I'll also add an additional informational widget to my homepage with some good to know information about keeping yourself safe and healthy during this time, as well as public resources and links to however the university virtualizes counseling services. I also plan on creating a social discussion space where we can interact with one another and kind of keep things light, and students can ask questions, but they don't really necessarily have to be related directly to course material. Am I nervous about moving 101 students into this space? Yes. Will we get through it? Yep. I absolutely believe that. Part of my analysis phase is always to make the decisions. Am I going to take on the burden of making this experience a success, or am I going to ask my students to help carry a good part of this load? I have had plenty of moments, for instance, problem-based learning classes, where I let students lead the way and decide what moves we're going to make. An emergency to me is one of those moments where I'm going to take the lead, and with their input, I'll put the burden of getting us all to the finish line on my shoulders. Know that there are supportive and experienced online educators around the world who stand ready in this moment to help you. I know that I'm taking great comfort in that knowledge, and I wish you the best health and safety during this time. And let me know if you have any questions about what I just showed you.